Hello and welcome everybody to my first Danganronpa spoiler cast. If you guys are wondering why I'm doing this, I really wanted to enjoy playing the game on my own, not on stream, but I also know that there's a lot of people that want to hear my opinions on this. And so instead of me typing an entire novel, I think what I'm going to do, if you guys like this format, is I'm going to continue to play the game on my own, but every time I beat a chapter, I do a little spoiler cast where I do 10 to 15 minutes of my thoughts on the chapter and the trial. I think I'm going to do that if you guys like this. Again, be warned, if you're reading the title, there will be spoilers. This is going to be live streamed and uploaded to the Milky Archives. So we're just going to jump right on into it if you like this. The one thing I do want to say, if this is your first time watching this, I don't have any spoiler cast for the prologue, but I do have a playthrough. So if you want to see my reactions to all of the characters and their ultimates and everything, that'll also be on the Milky Archives. But this is going to be strictly the trial of Chapter 1. So anything prior to this, you'll have to just look up in the playthrough itself. But we're just going to jump right on into it. And no reading chat, just venting my feelings in this spoiler cast. Also, if you guys want to participate, I highly recommend you join our Discord server and go to the anime section, because we talk about Danganronpa a lot there. And I'll be also talking about the game, but there was just too much to say where I needed to do a spoiler cast. So let's just jump on into it. So, how do I even start this? You know what? I'm going to actually start with, like, the positives. I'm going to start on an uplifting note. I just want to get this out of the way and just say, as a fan of Danganronpa, the presentation, because this is the first time I experienced a trial in V3, the presentation in V3 is unrivaled, dude. The way that the text goes when each of the characters are talking, the special effects, the details, like, it's crazy. It's such a huge step of above Danganronpa 1 and 2. You know, that was just like normal text, and it was just like PNGs sliding around the screen. I was like, this is just such a higher budget, higher effort thing. I also just want to say really quick, scrum debates are the coolest thing ever. Geez, I didn't think that Trials could get any more hype, but the gameplay is like 10 out of 10. When they first did that scrum debate and Monokuma like hit the gavel and everything, and like you had to like, you have like the people arguing, I was like, wow, this is crazy. But I think that's all. I also like the new Hangman's Gambit. I also liked the Rebuttal Showdown. It's about the same as it was in Danganronpa 2. So I just wanted to start off by just doing all the gameplay stuff, getting, you know, the boring stuff out of the way. I think that's it. The scrum debate was the highlight. Other than that, like, everything was pretty crazy. So now let's get on into the story, because there's a lot to say, and I'm just going to start from the beginning here really quick. During the investigation, I had a theory. Well, my theory wasn't locked in until the elevator ride to the trial. So, all the characters are going down. Obviously, this is a spoiler cast, so I'm not holding anything back. They're investigating the murder of Rantaro. And I was very proud of myself because I did predict that Rantaro would be the first to die. I was like, this guy's acting shady. We don't know his ultimate. What's the last thing I would expect, or that Kodaka would expect? I was like, this guy's going to be the first to die. Because like they were building up so much intrigue and mystery. But more on Rantaro later. But during that, I was like, okay, logistically right now, the only person that makes sense was Gonta. But I've been playing Danganronpa for like the past 6 years now. I was like, there's no way it's actually Gonta. But I'm just saying, like, the game was putting the pieces together to make you feel like it was going to be Gonta, because he was locked in the room, there was just a space enough in the door, and then, like, he's the only one strong enough to throw a shot put ball, and, like, it was like, the game was really, like, trying to make it obvious, like, Gonta locked himself in room, and he has no alibi, and the door is perfectly lined up, and so I was like, okay, obviously it makes the most sense for it to be Gonta, but, like, I knew it wouldn't. There's no way. This is like, I know Kodaka. So I was like, it's gotta be Shuichi. But I was like, I just don't know how. I have no idea how. My only theory was because in the pictures, at the end of every picture, there was one of him like taking down the camera. And I was like, maybe he was blocking something important. I don't fucking know. But I was like, I don't know how, but I feel like it must be Shuichi. I didn't want it to be him. So the trial's going, and we're going through all the stuff. It's like, I think it was Miyu because she made the cameras. And there's like, nope. I think it's Gonta because he was in there, but nope, the door was blocking, so there's no way he could have thrown the shot put ball because Rantaro had the bookcase in the way. So like everything got done. And it's so funny because Kaede said something out loud the moment that I thought it while I was playing. Because at the beginning of the trial, Shuichi, who I'm dressed as right now, I'm not wearing the wig because it's way too hot. But Shuichi, like, he's talking, he's like, oh, we had the cameras and this. And then for like a large chunk of the trial, Shuichi just isn't saying shit. And then Kaide's like, hey, Shuichi, you've been quiet for a while. And he's just like clutching his chest. I'm like, that's weird. But then the moment where I was like, oh, it really is Shuichi, was when Miyu was talking about like, oh, the killer probably just moved during the 30-second interval. And then everybody in the trial was like, wait, what the fuck are you talking about? What do you mean the 30-second interval? And she's like, yeah, there's a 30-second like cooldown between pictures in which the pictures can't take anything else. Like after a picture is taken, there needs to be at least 30-second buffer between the next picture. And she's like, what? I told Shuichi all about that. And not even Kaede knew about that. So everybody like looks at Shuichi and he's just like, oh, I didn't think it was important. And I was like, it's gotta be him, dude. I was like, he was the only one that knew about the fucking intervals. And I was like, he also went to the basement without Kaede for a little bit and came back. So I was like, no, dude. I was like, I love you, Shuichi. I was like, you're one of my favorites. I was like, why would you do that? So I'm sitting here racing through my mind like all this shit. I'm like, why would he do this? It's so unlike him. Like, how did he do it? What was the purpose? I was like, I don't get it. I was like, why did he not speak up during the last blood? Like, even then, I was like, what is going on? But the moment that I realized Kodako was 2 steps ahead, because I was like, I see what you're doing. But the moment, and it literally felt like somebody had punched me in the stomach. I'm not even lying. I'm sitting on my couch, and one line of dialogue is when, like, everything came together. And it wasn't even a big reveal, but it was like I started to feel sick because I realized that the despair went far beyond, because I was already in the process of grieving Shuichi. I was like, oh, he's going to be the first to die. He's going to be gone. I was like, I'm going to miss him. He was the best, coolest detective. I wasn't the biggest Kyoko Kirigiri fan, so this was my favorite ultimate detective. And I was like, I wasted my money on this cosplay. But then I was like, Kaede says something, and she's like, why would it, or like, she's like, what does Shuichi know that he wouldn't want to speak up about? And that's when it hit me. Because she was like, why wouldn't Shuichi speak up? Or what is he hiding? And then it hit me. It's like, he's not hiding evidence to clear himself. He knows something else that nobody else knows. And the only thing that made sense was the only person that he was with was Kaede. So when he said that, I started to get like really worried, because I was like, that doesn't make sense. I was like, that doesn't make any fucking sense. Something is so off about this. Something is so wrong about what's going on here. But like, I realized he wasn't like trying to hide evidence for himself, but he knew something that he didn't want like people to know. I'm like, sorry that I'm like repeating myself, but I was like, shit's so crazy. And then the real moment, the double down that confirmed my suspicions, was when everybody in the trial's like, Kaede, why are you so like matter of fact about like why Rantaro walked over to the flash of the camera? And then Kaede like drops the bomb, and she's just like, that's because I know who the killer is. And she's like, to be honest, I've known for quite a while. And I was just like, what did I miss? What the fuck is going on? But also, everything started to come back, and I feel like I had to play through, I didn't have to, but I played through Chapter 1 2 times. I played through Chapter 1 the first time on stream, and then I played through it again. And I started to already feel like things were weird the second time, but I didn't put 2 and 2 together. But I felt like Shuichi in the moment, because like everything that I felt was off, I realized why I felt that it was off. Moments that I thought were off where it's like, why was Kaede so obsessed about stacking the books? When I played through the second time, I didn't even pick it up the first time. But the second time, Shuichi's like, don't worry about it, Kaede. He's like, I know you don't like to like admit that you lost. But then Kaede's like, no. And then there was another weird thing where she's reading an encyclopedia, and she purposely lays, like she says that she lays it down face up. I was like, that was a weird thing. Like, why would the game say that? And then also, when Shuichi was getting the cameras and Kaede's holding the shot put ball in the warehouse, she's like, thinking to herself, she's like, I hope this works out. She's like, I hope that, you know, we can end the killing game. And then it even said, like, when Shuichi came back, she's like, I took everything that I was holding and put it back in my bag. Like, heavily implying right there that the shot put ball that she was holding, she had put into her backpack. So when I saw that murder weapon, I should have known, but I just wasn't thinking. And there was so many ways that this case could have gone. And I know that I'm kind of skipping around all over the place and shit, but I can't believe... I want to just take a step back from the story for just like 30 seconds here and just say that Kotaka as a storyteller is so insane, because never, ever, ever in my life I've done 12... This would be my 13th Danganronpa trial. 6 from Danganronpa 1, 6 from Danganronpa 2, and then this one. And I would have never even thought of the possibility of the player character being the killer. That was never on my radar. That was so far beyond. I thought having Shuichi be the killer would have been the biggest gut punch. I'm like, if I was Kotaka and I wanted to fuck with somebody, what would I do? I was like, well, you're gonna spend... It was kind of like a larger, expanded version of Makoto and Sayaka, where in Danganronpa 1, Makoto and Sayaka are together like the whole time leading up to that first trial. And I was like, they're doing the same thing. But I should have known that Kotaka would not do the same thing 2 times. He never does that. Even when he parallels trials like Genocide Jack and Sparkling Justice, he plays upon your expectations and he puts a twist on it that you would never expect. Because when I played Danganronpa 2 and I saw the whole Sparkling Justice thing, I was like, oh, this is just the Toko thing again, except with Peko. But then it wasn't, because Peko was pretending to be Sparkling Justice and she really wasn't. And it was like, that's what I mean. Like, Kotaka will self-reference past twists, but he always does it in a way that's different, and I should have known, but never in my wildest dreams could I have ever predicted that. My one criticism is Kaede has to be extremely fucking lucky or unlucky for her to have timed that correctly, because there was just a lot of moving parts. That's a very minor complaint, but I'm like, damn. There was a lot that could have gone wrong, but the fact that everything lined up to kill Rantaro was perfect. There was a lot. There was a lot of weird stuff, because I was like, listen, it's not like Danganronpa 2 Chapter 5 levels of convenience with like Nagito's ultimate luck, but still there was some stuff going on. But all in all, that was the saddest trial, or really anything. I know some people might be like, well, Zach, what about, when Ibuki died? It was not nearly as sad for 2 reasons. Again, spoiler cast, I'm talking about spoilers. There's nothing off the table here. First off, Ibuki was killed off camera. You just stumble upon her body and you kind of like react in that moment. And then secondly, Danganronpa 2 has like one of the biggest twists / ass pulls, and I mean that in a good way, of all time, in which none of the cast actually dies because they were in the Neo World program. So even then I can't be sad because Ibuki wasn't dead. The only other time I was this sad, and it wasn't even as close, was Mukuro Ikusaba's death, in which I thought it was Junko at the time. And that was different because that was a killing that at first was like, what the fuck? Holy shit, that was brutal. And then it got sad when you realized that it was like Mukuro and that her sister betrayed her. And it was like an afterburn sad. This really stuck on it. Every character was like crying. The dialogue between Shuichi and Kaede was fucking heartbreaking. And I'm just going to say it now. I think that execution is the hardest to watch in the series. A lot of the executions I actually think are silly and over the top. Like I think of Mikan's, I think of Mondo's. I think that they're almost so goofy that it like pulls away from the seriousness of it. Honestly, the one that stuck with me the most, and I didn't even like Leon. I thought Leon Kuwato kind of sucked ass. But I always thought like Leon's was the like most hard to watch trial because it felt really grounded. He was the ultimate baseball star and he got shot with so many baseballs until he like died. A lot of the Danganronpa trials, especially in 2, are so goofy. Like I'm thinking of like Terror getting like deep fried in a volcano. I'm thinking of Mikan like getting shot by a rocket up into the... I was like, a lot of shit's so goofy, but I actually had to look away from the screen a couple times during Kaide's execution. It was actually that hard for me to watch because the whole build up to it and how sad and like fucked up everything was. I think that it was the most. I think it was the darkest one. Yeah, it was tough, and even if Kaide's not my favorite character in all of the series, this was the saddest I've ever been. I literally went to sleep like I didn't even know what to think. I just like laid in bed and I was just like I can't believe how fucking sad that was because she's not a bad person. She There's so much to talk about. I don't want to be here for like an hour. So I'm gonna speed things up. I said everything that I wanted to say, but I want to speed. There's a couple things I still want to bring up. First is like I said, I feel so bad for her because like I feel bad for the whole situation because she went out on a limb because she trusted Shuichi. So now Shuichi has like this guilt in his heart that, oh, because I was so confident telling Kaede that the mastermind was one of us, that's why she did this. But she still shouldn't have like done that. But at the same time, another great thing about this trial is like everybody's like, why didn't you speak up? And it was because of the fucking first blood perk. Like everything about this trial was like every single detail was like perfect to make like the perfect murder mystery story of all time. Because she couldn't have, if she would have admitted to it, she would have gotten to go free and everybody else like would have had to like stay in like the killing game. And she banked on the fact of, I'm going to be able to unmask the mastermind during this trial. And when she couldn't, she had to give the reins over to Shuichi. And I just think that that's so sad because she really did care about everybody else. And she feels like it's so bad. Everything is so bad because she feels guilty about killing Rantaro. She feels guilty for like betraying everybody, but she actually put everybody above her because she could have easily left. She could have just admitted to it, gotten out of the school, and then everybody would have had to continue, and maybe she could have like found help. But I'm gonna say this though. I actually, and this is me again. I've gotten no spoilers for this game, so this is me like theorizing some stuff, and it makes me even more sick because I'm already like so like heartbroken about what I saw. I feel like the ramifications of this trial, we don't even know the full story of, and I think a lot of that has to do with Rantaro. And Monokuma said something where he was like, "You guys are so hung up on Kaede, you're not thinking about Rantaro," and he's like. Maybe with his ultimate, he could have actually done something to stop the killing game. And I'm like, what if, again, this is just me spitballing, I could be wrong, but this is like a feeling that I get, where it's like, this was already the saddest shit ever, but it could be worse even. It's like, and I'm also flashing back to before the murder, in which Rantaro was like, guys, don't do anything stupid. I think I'm going to be able to end this killing game. And I feel like, had Kaede not tried to kill the mastermind, I feel like we might learn that Rantaro was about to actually stop the mastermind. Because he opened that bookcase with like a goal. And then he was killed by the shot put ball. So I feel like Kaide's death might actually be even worse. Because I feel like she probably just got herself killed and Rantaro killed, where if she would have not done anything, they may have stopped the killing game. That's my theory, and that's the dark part that looms over my head more than anything. And I'm like, if that's the case, that will be even more fucked up. But there is something else I want to say on a little bit more positive note. This is not me downplaying Danganronpa 1 or 2 at all, because they tell very different stories, and Makoto and Hajime are very different protagonists. Makoto goes in there, he's the ultimate lucky student, he wants to be, like, positive. But honestly, throughout the whole game, most of it is Makoto, like, being an optimist, while Kyoko's like, hey, Makoto, don't forget this evidence, don't forget this, and like Kyoko like hand holds him throughout the story. Hajime is like the story of like a loser who had no talent, surrounded by these ultimates, and he's proving that he's just as good as them. It's a really good story. But I honestly feel like with this first chapter, they have created the best Danganronpa protagonist of all time now, for me. And I know some people are going to disagree, but I feel like this trial sets up Shuichi to be a protagonist with more weight than we've ever seen in the series. More than even like Ultra Despair Girls with Komaru, anybody. because it doesn't feel like we're a random person now going through the motions of this killing game with Monokuma. Like, Kaede literally says, she's like, I don't have to be scared that I'm going to die. I don't have to be sad because I'm trusting my wish to you. And now Shuichi has all of this guilt on him and all of this motivation where he's like, I need to get out of this killing game and I need to stop this killing game now as the ultimate detective, because now he has something to go for. And I feel like now Shuichi has become more compelling than ever. And that final scene of him going into Kaede's, like, ultimate lab and playing the piano music, and you see, like, Kaede's ghost, and Shuichi's just looking out the window, that was a more powerful moment than I think Makoto or Hajime ever had. You know? And I'm so glad that I connected with Shuichi, because here's the thing, though. I am going to say this. If I go to trial 2 and the killer of the next trial is Shuichi and he fucking dies and then there's another fucking playable character, I'm going to be pissed. I'm going to be so fucking mad. I'm going to be so fucking mad. If the next trial, if all of this ages like milk and the next trial it's Shuichi again, I'm like, but I know Kodaka doesn't do that. He doesn't do the same twist twice. He might trick me, but it's not going to happen. But the only other thing I want to say that I think I am going to predict, though, is during Kaede's execution, Mono Kid gets pushed in. I always knew Monodam was fucked up. Monodam pushes the other Mono Cub into the trap and kills him. I think I already know, like, how this is gonna go. And obviously with the spoiler cast, I don't want to know anything. This is just for me to voice my thoughts and then go back to after I've played the game. But I feel like I was like, there's 5 trials left, 4 more Mono Cubs. I feel like that's going to be a running thing. I feel like every execution, one of these fucking Mono Cubs is gonna die. I'm like, once I saw Mono Kid, I was like, oh, I see. The Mono Cubs are also going to be executed all the way down until it's just Monokuma at the end. That's again, I could be 1,000% wrong. I swear on my life, I don't have any spoilers. That's me seeing that and seeing, like, that felt really random and weird, but also intentional. So I feel like that's going to continue to be a common theme. And then lastly, the last thing I want to say is, shit, I can't remember. There's so much going on through my head. But again, it was one of the most sad, depressing things I'd ever seen. I love Kaede so much. Honestly, she's probably my 3rd favorite female Danganronpa character now, because she was literally just the sweetest, kindest person and so selfless. That's what I was going to say. I remember what I was going to say. You know who the real villain is? Obviously Monokuma, who I have no idea who the fuck it could be. But you know who the real villain is? And I was sitting here, and I've never felt this before in any Danganronpa trial. The real villain is whoever fucking kills again after this point. I don't care what motive, what circumstance, whatever Monokuma throws at them. Everybody was there together, and I'd never seen this before. Like, when they were going to execute Kaede, fucking... I love these characters so much. All these characters are so good. Even Tenko. And Tenko's like a bitch. But, like, Tenko, Kaito, and Gonta were all, like, back to back to back. And they were going to, like, fight the Exisals and die. They're like, fuck that. Like, Gonta's like, Gonta, train for this. Like, they were willing to actually die knowing that they couldn't. They were, like, gonna, like, just fight the Exisals and get killed for Kaede. I'm like, we have never had this sense of unity in a Danganronpa cast ever. Because in Danganronpa 1, we always had Byakuya and Kyoko and Toko all fucking off doing their own things, and Celeste being like, do you understand? I hate you all. And, like, in Danganronpa 2, we'd have, like, the dumbasses or Nagito being like, everybody can be killed. But I felt a sense of unity with these characters that I've never felt in the previous casts, in which, like, everybody felt like on the same page, with the exception of Kokichi. But that's a whole nother story for a different stream. And even when, like, Kaito punched Shuichi, like, he did that out of, like, an older brother loving way. You know, he punched him in the face, like, he's like, man up. He's like, quit crying. He's like, Kaede just fucking died, and she entrusted everything to you, dude. He's like, get up and get your head back into the game, dude. And, like, even when Kaito did that, he did it out of love. Like, he didn't do it in a place of, like, hatred. It's like everybody there really respected what Kaede did. And even her last words were like, guys, I hope that you guys all get out of here and you all become great friends. And they're all crying. So I'm like, whoever is the asshole that kills after this, because yes, Kaede did start the killing game, but she thought she was killing the mastermind, dude. She thought she was killing the mastermind. There was not from a place of hatred or guilt, because she could have easily gotten out, but she didn't. So whoever actually kills out of selfish regards is going to go down in history as the biggest piece of fucking shit. And I'm looking at the game, I'm like, there's 5 more trials. Obviously shit's not going to be a happy ending. And Shuichi now has the most responsibility I've ever seen in a Danganronpa protagonist. I know that this has already gone on long enough, but I also want to praise Kodaka's writing, because I think Shuichi is one of the most insanely well-written characters for this reason alone. Because of the parallels. Danganronpa does parallels so good. It's always like hope, despair, this and that. It's a play on stuff where it's like, prior to this, the litmus test of well-written characters was Nagito, because Nagito is all about hope, but he's like toxic hope, where he's so hopeful, he's actually more despair-inducing than most people. And I think that, like, I can go on for an hour about how well-written Nagito is, and how there's almost no characters in fiction like Nagito. People are like, oh, he's like the Joker, he's like a crazy guy. It's not like that, dude. Because he's not a selfish chaos. He doesn't love chaos. He doesn't love, like, selfishness. Nagito's such a crazy character. And I'm not going to go on about Nagito. This is about Shuichi right now. And I literally sat there at 4 in the morning last night, literally like heartbroken, like so sad about Kaede. But then a realization hit me, and it was one of the strongest emotional knee jerks I'd ever felt just sitting alone in my room. And I wanted to type in Discord, but I was like, I think I'm just going to do a video instead, because there's so much to talk about. And I realized, how fitting is it that Shuichi is the ultimate detective, but in his pursuit of the truth, it always fucks him over. I'm like, Shuichi's able to uncover the truth, but it always hurts him. I'm like, what a crazy story for a detective. Kyoko had like nothing bad happened to her. Like, she just fucking plot armored her way through like multiple fucking trials and things that should have killed her. I'm not gonna get into that. But like, Kyoko survived dying not once but twice in the series by like plot armor. Where Shuichi, his entire backstory was, so yeah, there was a guy at my like uncle's agency, and I happened to solve the case, but I feel like I shouldn't have. Like, he found out the truth and he got the murderer arrested, but he regrets it because he's like, I shouldn't have, because the murderer was just trying to get revenge for his family. Like, his family was slaughtered and he was trying to get revenge. He was like, did I fuck up? He's like, did I just condemn somebody and now like they hate me and maybe I did something wrong? And he had to do, that was his biggest fear. He's like, I don't like to speak up. I don't like to tell the truth because it like fucked me up so bad. And Kaede was like, no, Shuichi, don't let that get to you. You gotta trust in yourself. Uncover the truth no matter what. And then when he does it again, him uncovering the truth leads to the person that he cares about the most getting killed. So now 2 times him uncovering the truth has led to something horrible happening. And I feel like that's so fucking heartbreaking. I feel like that's such a well-written character. To have an ultimate detective that every time they uncover the truth, it hurts them. Or it fucks them over. I'm like, wow. What a just well-written character and well-written story. So, that's all for Trial 1. The last thing is, I have no idea where this story is going, because I saw an epilogue scene where it shows Kaede like on a funeral post, and this made me like sick to my stomach even more so. But there was Kaede at like a memorial, and then there's voices that we've never heard talking, and they're talking about like, oh, you know, they should have died, or they shouldn't have done this, or maybe it was because of that group, and I'm like, what the fuck are these tweakers talking about? But I also noticed there was 16 spots on that memorial thing, and I'm like, is this foreshadowing that every character's gonna die? I don't know, but I also know that for the first time ever, Monokuma's rules are different. In Danganronpa 1, it was like, you guys are gonna just stay here forever until you die. And that was it. In Danganronpa 2, it was like, you guys are gonna stay here until that big bomb goes off in Jabberwock Park. In this game, Monokuma says that the killing game will continue indefinitely until only 2 people remain. And that has never been a rule before. And I'm like, are they going to actually do that? Shit's going to have to happen. Are we really going to go until there's only 2? That remains to be seen. But that was my spoiler cast. Absolutely incredible trial. That was my second favorite trial in the series. That was the second greatest trial in the trilogy for me right now. And I will forever mourn Kaede for the rest of my life. Honestly, dude. Kaede stuck with me. And I honestly think her death is the saddest. More sad than Mukuro, more sad than Ibuki, more sad than anything. I unfortunately never really cared about Chiaki, so Chiaki's death was never this big tragic thing. In fact, I think her second death in Danganronpa 3 was way worse. I think Chiaki's death in the anime actually like made me like tear up, but Kaede's was the hardest. And wow. Now it's up to Shuichi, man. This is gonna be a crazy game. What a crazy fucking game. And if you guys liked this, let me know in the comment section on YouTube or let me know in Discord. And if you guys like this, I will do this at the end of every trial until I beat the game, and then I'll do a post-game spoiler cast. But that's it, guys. That's all my streaming content for today. I'm going to play more Danganronpa. Obviously, I'm going to talk about it in Discord, so if there's anything you want me to talk about that I didn't talk about in the spoiler cast, let me know on Discord, and we'll talk about it all night. But I was like, I don't feel like typing 500 novels, so I wanted to do this video. But we could talk about it there. Thanks for watching the spoiler cast, and I'll see you later. So long, bear well.
So long, farewell!